I'm not sure why my hands tremble so much when I hold the wedding invitation, but they do. Charleston's late afternoon light angles through my living room window, shining directly on that ivory envelope, as if trying to make me confront it head-on. My name, Patricia Reynolds, is scrolled across the front in shiny gold lettering, and inside is the formal invite to Iris's wedding, my baby sister tying the knot in a lavish ceremony out by the coast. It's hardly a surprise, but seeing it spelled out in perfect calligraphy feels like a jolt of lightning under my skin. I set the invitation down on the narrow wooden coffee table, the same table I've had since my first apartment, and take in a shaky breath. Outside, a Charleston breeze rustles the palmetto trees, carrying the faint scent of the ocean across the city. A honk from a passing car reminds me that life goes on whether I'm ready or not. It's not that I'm unhappy for Iris. She's younger than me, 10 years younger, but I've always been proud of how determined and sunny she is. The wedding is in 2 weeks, at some upscale beach resort an hour's drive from downtown Charleston. Everyone's excited. Mom can't stop calling me with details about the floral arrangements, the color scheme, the DJ. It's a spectacle of romance and dreams. But the only thing I can focus on is one name: Nolan. Iris mentioned he'd be one of the groomsmen, specifically the best man, my ex-boyfriend. The same guy who shredded my confidence 2 years ago when we broke up in the most painful, humiliating way possible. I press my hands flat against my thighs, trying to steady myself. My reflection stares back from the glass covering a framed photo on the wall. Me at 25, smiling in front of the old Charleston City Market, wearing a goofy sun hat. I look carefree and fearless. Now, at 38, I feel more like a bundle of insecurities. Flashes of memory flood my head. How Nolan would gently tease me at first, then twist those teases into criticisms about my ambition or my age. How I wanted so badly to please him that I never challenged his snarky remarks. How in the end he walked away calling me boring and too old-fashioned for him. That last part stings the most. Staring at the invitation, I can almost hear Iris's sweet, excited voice. "Patricia, you have to be there. You're my sister. I can't do this without you." I close my eyes. Of course I'll be there. I just have no idea how I'll handle facing Nolan again, especially when he's part of the wedding party, waltzing around with that smug grin. My phone buzzes on the couch. I grab it, half hoping it's Iris telling me the wedding's postponed or something equally unrealistic. But it's just a text from an old coworker. I toss the phone aside and let my head fall back against the couch. My mind starts spinning through scenarios. Me standing alone in the midst of wedding festivities, seeing Nolan escorting some gorgeous date, or hearing whispered remarks about how I'm still single at 38. I push myself off the couch and pace around the small living room, which doubles as my home office. The late-day sun lights up the dusty hardwood floors. I can't hide away from the real world. I know that. But maybe I can figure out a way to show up less vulnerable. The thought flickers through my head. What if I just brought someone too? The idea feels both ridiculous and strangely appealing. I'm not dating anyone. The men at my office? Absolutely not. They're either married, uninterested, or not a good fit for a fake date. I let out a slow exhale. There must be some alternative. By the time night falls, I've gone through a mental list of potential solutions. Skip the wedding. Impossible, it would crush Iris. Beg a friend to play pretend. Ashley is already traveling for work. Or simply face the music and endure Nolan's presence. None of those feel right. Standing at my apartment window, gazing at the Charleston skyline glimmering under the orange streetlights, I cling to a tiny spark of resolve. Maybe I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll find the perfect way to handle this without humiliating myself in front of my entire family and Nolan. The next day, I find myself seated at a cozy cafe overlooking Charleston Harbor. Seagulls swoop low, scavenging for scraps as tourists wander the promenade. The smell of coffee mingles with the salty air drifting in through the open doors. "I'm so glad you could make it, honey," Mom says, taking the seat across from me. Her floral blouse is bright pink. She's always been a fan of flashy colors. Beside her, Iris practically glows, flipping her light brown hair over her shoulder as she settles in. "Patricia, thank you for meeting us," Iris says, smiling so wide I can't help but grin back. She has that newly engaged aura, a ring glittering on her finger, an unstoppable enthusiasm radiating from every pore. I hide a small grimace by sipping my iced latte. Of course, I manage. So 2 weeks left, right? Yes, 2 weeks, Iris squeals, clasping her hands together. And we still have a million things to finalize. Mom's handling some of the vendor stuff and Oliver is focusing on the music, but I feel like the details keep multiplying. Good stress, though. Mom nods in agreement, glancing at her phone. We've got the seating chart, the rehearsal dinner, the final head count. Patricia, dear, please tell me you'll be able to arrive early, maybe the day before. I want our whole family together. I swallow. Yeah, that's the plan. Don't worry, I won't miss any important moments. Great, Mom beams. And you can bring someone, right? Her tone is light, but that single question slices through the cafe's pleasant atmosphere. My grip tightens around the glass. I can feel Iris's hopeful eyes on me. Well, I begin, my voice shaky. I'm not sure yet. Mom's brow furrows. Patricia, you know I'm just worried about you being alone in such a big crowd. Nolan's going to be there and… My cheeks flare with heat. Yes, I know. Iris cuts in gently, her eyes brimming with concern. We just want you to feel comfortable, sis. You mentioned once you were sort of seeing someone? She raises an eyebrow, an innocent question that hits me like a punch. I blink. My mind scrambles. I have a friend, I say, voice cracking. The words leave my mouth before I can stop them. We've been talking. I might invite him. Mom's face lights up instantly. Oh, that's wonderful. You've never mentioned his name, though. I force a laugh. Still kinda new. I'll let you both meet him soon. I lie, heart hammering. The worst part is Iris's relieved smile, like I've eased some huge burden off her wedding to-do list. We dive into wedding topics, the color scheme, dusty blue, the menu, fresh seafood, local low-country cuisine, the florist fiasco from last week. I respond automatically, but my brain replays the bomb I just dropped. I said I have a friend, a potential plus-own. Am I insane? After Mom steps away to take a phone call, Iris leans closer. Patty, you know Nolan is just a person, right? He can't hurt you anymore. If you don't have a date, it's totally fine. Her gentleness almost shatters my composure. I appreciate it. But honestly, I'm thinking it could be nice not to show up alone. Iris's gaze softens. I get it. Just promise you won't do anything that makes you unhappy. Sure, I say, ignoring the knot in my stomach. We wrap up lunch after finalizing a few tiny details about the wedding schedule. Outside, the harbor sparkles under midday sunshine. Boats move lazily across the water. Iris gives me a tight hug, all smiles and excitement, before heading off with Mom to meet a caterer. Alone, I lean on the wooden railing by the water, breathing in the briny air. My sister wants me to be happy, but the problem is, I'm not sure how. The thought of facing Nolan single-handedly twists me in knots. On the other hand, I've just promised a friend. I fish my phone out of my purse and stare at my reflection in the dark screen. My hair is pinned back in a neat twist, my makeup minimal. I look composed, if only my emotions matched. Within seconds, I'm tapping a message to my best friend, Ashley. I might have done something crazy. Told Mom and Iris I might bring a date to the wedding. Her reply is immediate. Girl, you have 2 weeks. Find someone fast. I scoff quietly. Easy for you to say. I toss my phone back in my bag, ignoring the anxiety churning in my stomach. I have no actual boyfriend, and I definitely can't conjure one out of thin air. But as I head back to my car, a new sense of determination sparks. Maybe I can figure out a way. One that won't blow up in my face, hopefully. Wait, so you told them you have a date that doesn't exist? Ashley stares at me from across her living room couch, a dubious smile forming on her lips. Patricia, that's borderline tragic, you know. I know, I groan, burying my face in a throw pillow. It just slipped out. Mom was basically cornering me. I panicked. Ashley's apartment is a stylish loft with tall windows overlooking a busy Charleston street. She's got an eye for decor, everything in muted grays and whites accented by bold, abstract paintings. We usually hang out here on weekends, talk gossip, drink cheap wine, watch old sitcoms. But right now, the vibe is all about my crisis. Pulling the pillow away, I look at her pleadingly. What am I going to do? The wedding is in 2 weeks. I could show up alone, but then I look like a liar. And with Nolan there… Ashley arches a brow. You hate the idea of him smirking at you, don't you? Absolutely, I admit, shame burning my face. I hate that he might see me as the same insecure woman he left behind. She sighs, tapping her nails on the coffee table. Options, then. 1. You can be upfront with Mom, say you overreacted. 2. See if any friend would pose as your new boyfriend. Or 3. You could literally hire someone. The last option draws a half-hearted laugh from me until I see Ashley's dead serious expression. No way, I protest. Ashley shrugs. Why not? People do that. I read an article on rent-a-date services. You just pay a professional companion to attend events. That sounds so desperate, I grumble. She leans forward. But it might save your sanity. It's not like you're paying for, you know. It's just acting. I open my mouth to argue, but the memories of Nolan's scornful smile flood my mind. Something churns inside me, anger, maybe, or a desire to prove him wrong. Do you actually think it could work? Ashley snatches her phone and starts typing. Let me see. I recall reading about a site called Elite Companion. It's like a professional service. They focus on classy escorts for corporate events, weddings, whatever. My heart thumps loudly in my chest. I can't believe I'm even considering this. She shows me her screen, a sleek website boasting discreet upscale companionship. Polished men in suits, each with a short bio. The site's design looks clean, not shady at all. My stomach flips. This is insane, I tell myself. But I can't deny a weird sense of relief at the possibility. No emotional entanglements, no fear of heartbreak, just an arrangement. Ashley clicks around. Look, they have an inquiry form. You just fill in the event details, your preferences, and they match you with someone who fits. I release a shaky breath. I'm a normal, stable adult, and I'm about to hire a stranger to pose as my boyfriend. Stable is debatable, she jokes, but softens her tone when she sees my nerves. Patricia, I get it. You don't want to face Nolan alone. This might be your best shot, short of conjuring a real relationship in 2 weeks. Biting my lip, I lean over her shoulder. My reflection is visible in the laptop screen. Worried eyes, furrowed brow. Then I start typing basic info. It asks for the date of the event, location, length of companionship. Ashley's eyebrows shoot up at the rates. My stomach clenches when I see the final amount. But a voice inside me says it's worth it if it means I can breathe easier at my sister's wedding. I hit submit. A confirmation message pops up. Our representative will contact you within 24 hours. Ashley squeezes my hand. There. Done. We can always back out if it feels too weird. I swallow the lump in my throat. Right. Let's hope I don't regret this. That evening, back in my own apartment, I keep glancing at my phone. Part of me hopes the site can't match me with anyone, so I don't have to go through with this. The other part, the part that dreads humiliating myself in front of Nolan, crosses my fingers for a smooth solution. Just before midnight, a ping lights up my screen, an email from Elite Companion Agency. My heart pounds as I open it. They confirm they've found a match for my requested date. His name is Paul Gregory, described as professional, discreet, experienced in formal gatherings. If I'm interested, I need to confirm and pay the deposit. I stare at the email in disbelief. This is so real now. Before I can change my mind, I hit reply, typing a quick acceptance. My finger lingers on the send button for a moment, then presses it. A strange mixture of adrenaline and relief surges through me. I might be crossing an ethical line, or maybe I'm just saving my pride. All I know is I can't show up at the wedding alone, letting Nolan see me quake like the insecure version of myself he used to know. Flopping onto my bed, I stare at the ceiling. Please don't let this blow up in my face, I whisper, feeling the weight of what I've just done. 1 week later, I'm steering my compact car down a coastal highway, windows cracked to let in the warm breeze. Charleston's skyline is far behind me, replaced by stretches of marshland and glimpses of the Atlantic. The resort sign eventually appears, flanked by tall palm trees. I turn in, marveling at the meticulously manicured lawns and white sandy beach that sparkles under midday sunlight. I park by the main entrance, stepping out in my simple cotton sundress. My sandals click softly on the cobblestone path leading to the lobby. Wiping my clammy palms on the skirt, I remind myself to breathe. My plan is to arrive a few days earlier than the rest of the guests, help Iris finalize last-minute items, and most importantly meet Paul Gregory, my hired companion, when he gets here tomorrow. Inside, the lobby is all polished marble and glass chandeliers, with a panoramic view of the ocean through massive windows. I can almost taste the salt in the air. I check in and wheel my small suitcase down a corridor to my room. The place is so fancy I feel out of place, like I'm gate-crashing some posh celebrity hangout. Once I've dropped off my belongings, I head for the bar. My nerves are jittery, but maybe a light drink will help me calm down before I tackle the wedding to-do list. The bar sits in an open atrium, overlooking a turquoise pool that connects visually with the sea beyond. A cluster of guests chat nearby, all wearing breezy resort attire. I spot a tall man at the bar, nursing what looks like a gin and tonic. He's got dark hair swept neatly to one side, broad shoulders beneath a crisp blue button-down, and a pair of expensive-looking loafers. Something about him gives off an air of quiet authority. I freeze. He's seated right where Paul and I agreed to meet tomorrow. Confusion stirs inside me. Is he here a day early? Stepping forward, I clear my throat. Hi, excuse me, are you Paul Gregory? He turns and his gaze lands on me with a slight smile. His voice is smooth, lower than I expected. Not exactly. Name's Oscar Campbell. I blink, cheeks flushing. Oh, sorry, He arches a brow like he's curious. Were you expecting someone else? My mind races. Paul was supposed to meet me at this exact spot tomorrow evening. Did he arrive early? Did I mix the date up? Could Oscar be using a different name? My anxiety flares. Maybe the agency uses aliases for privacy. I try to keep my composure. Yes, I was waiting for a friend. Paul. Oscar's mouth quirks up. I see. I'm afraid I'm not your friend, Paul, but I'm happy to keep you company if you'd like. Something about the way he says it is confident but not sleazy. I slide onto the bar stool next to him, heart hammering in my chest. Well, that's nice of you. Are you here for the wedding by any chance? My sister's wedding? A flash of discomfort flickers in his eyes, and he quickly smooths it away. I'm around for a business engagement. He lifts his glass, then sets it down quietly. What wedding, if I might ask? The conversation feels odd, but my curious side takes over. My sister, Iris Reynolds, is marrying Oliver Finch. It's out by the beach in a couple days. Oscar nods slowly. Sounds lovely. And I take it you're not exactly thrilled about it? I laugh nervously. I'm thrilled for her, just not excited about certain guests. Long story. He exhales as if he understands more than he's letting on, then smiles politely. Well, if you're looking for a friendly face, you found one. I can play the role if you want. My stomach flips. Play the role, he can't possibly know what that implies, can he? My chest tightens. Why would you offer that? I ask, forcing a half smile. Let's say I'm used to stepping into situations. Oscar replies, something unreadable in his tone. I can be quite adaptable. In my head, alarms go off. This man is definitely not Paul Gregory, but for some reason he's open to the idea of pretending. Could there be a chance that he's from the agency under a different name? My mind leaps to that possibility. We chat a bit longer. His conversation style is smooth, sincere even. He asks about Charleston, about my family, about the wedding. I'm guarded with my answers, but he's surprisingly easy to talk to. Eventually, I notice the late afternoon sun dipping low through the massive windows. I should be helping Iris with the seating chart soon. I gather my nerves. I guess I'll see you around the resort, Oscar. He glances at me with amusement. I'll be here. As I walk away, my heart pounds like I've just done something reckless. I can't ignore the weird sense of relief and intrigue swirling inside. Meeting someone who's both mysterious and oddly willing to play a role makes me think maybe I've stumbled onto the wrong guy, or maybe the right one. But the lines of this arrangement are blurry already, and I haven't even laid eyes on Paul. I slip back to my room, half excited, half terrified. I can't stop replaying Oscar's voice in my head, that gentle confidence suggesting he's willing to help me, or join me, or maybe just cause trouble. I slump onto the bed, letting out a long breath. My phone stays silent, no messages from Paul. Outside my window, the ocean glistens under a pink and orange sky. My pulse races, anticipating what the next day will bring. I'm supposed to meet my real hired date tomorrow, but tonight I've encountered someone else entirely. And something about Oscar Campbell is both comforting and unnerving all at once. Within me, a stirring sense of possibility rises. It's as if the tides are shifting, and I'm standing right where the waves break, uncertain whether to stand firm or let the current carry me someplace new. I woke up the next morning with a head full of static and nerves humming in my bloodstream. The coastal sunshine beamed through my hotel window, so bright it practically commanded me to get up and face whatever mess I'd created. I spent a solid 10 minutes pacing around the suite, wondering if Oscar Campbell would actually keep his word if he'd show up at all. Part of me was still convinced the real escort, Paul Gregory, would stroll in any second, waving a business card and clarifying everything. Another part of me kept replaying my conversation with Oscar at the bar, how he'd seemed strangely comfortable slipping into the role I'd hinted at. Around 9, I headed downstairs to meet Iris for breakfast, weaving through the resort's airy lobby with its white columns and hanging ferns. She was waiting at a small table near the poolside cafe, wearing a floral sundress and flipping through pages of notes about seating arrangements. "Hey, sis," she greeted me, her eyes glowing with wedding excitement. But the moment she looked at my face, she frowned. "You look a little tense. Everything okay?" I forced a smile. "Of course. Just not sleeping well." I took a seat across from her, smoothing my ponytail to hide my shaky hands. "What's the plan for today?" She pushed a mug of coffee my way. "Well, we're going to finalize the table decor in about an hour, then check on the band's setup. Mom's tied up with the caterers." I nodded, sipping the coffee that tasted both bitter and comforting. "Sure. Let me help." Her face softened. "Patricia, I'm sorry if you're feeling overwhelmed. Nolan's already here. He arrived last night." My stomach lurched. "Figures." She hesitated. "He was asking about you, you know." The old panic flickered through my chest. "Great," I muttered, voice tight. "Well, I'm not letting him ruin anything." The conversation paused as the waiter brought fresh croissants. I was about to reach for one when I caught sight of a familiar figure striding across the patio. Oscar, dressed in light chinos and a pale blue shirt, sleeves rolled just enough to reveal strong forearms, walked straight toward us. For a heartbeat, I forgot how to speak. He offered a polite nod to Iris, then turned his gaze to me with a small, confident smile. "Good morning," he said, voice calm as a gentle breeze. "Hope I'm not interrupting?" Iris glanced between us, and I spotted curiosity lighting her eyes. I realized I hadn't even told her about meeting this man. Talk about awkward. "Oscar," I managed, my pulse thumping. You remember me mentioning my sister Iris?" He slid his hands into his pockets. "I believe so. Lovely to meet you." Iris blinked, then extended her hand. "Nice to meet you too, Oscar. Are you a friend of Patricia's from Charleston?" Before he could respond, I cleared my throat, feeling reckless. "Actually, yes, he's the friend I told you about. The one I invited." I nearly choked on the words, but Oscar barely flinched. He exhaled as if he'd been anticipating this, then nodded. "Exactly. Patricia mentioned you could use some extra support for the wedding festivities." My sister's face lit up, a surge of relief crossing her features. "Oh, that's fantastic." She glanced at me, eyes brimming with a silent, "Thank you for being honest." "Sit down, Oscar, please." He pulled up a chair next to me. The morning sun highlighted the serious lines of his jaw, and I felt the old swirl of tension in my stomach. This was real. He was stepping into Paul Gregory's role so seamlessly, and I couldn't tell if that made me comfortable or freaked out. We chatted about mundane wedding tasks for a while, centerpieces, music, timing. I mostly just nodded, hoping I didn't look like I was about to faint. Halfway through, Iris excused herself to grab something from the event coordinator. That left me alone with Oscar, the bright cafe buzzing with hotel guests and servers. I clasped my hands on the table, lowering my voice. "Listen, I'm not sure how to thank you or what made you do this, but if this is too weird, just tell me." He watched me, a hint of amusement in his eyes. I said I'm adaptable, Patricia, and I meant it. He leaned in slightly. I can't explain everything, but let's just say I'm here for my own reasons. Stepping in as your date might help both of us. My heart pounded. But you know I was actually waiting for someone else, right? A guy named Paul. Oscar's expression remained unreadable. Yes, I gathered that. But if you'd rather go with him. He trailed off, gaze steady. I swallowed. I don't even know if he'll show. And well, I already introduced you to my sister. She thinks you're my friend now. Oscar nodded, a slight quirk pulling at his lips. Then let's not disappoint her. Anxiety shimmered through me, but a small part of me was grateful, maybe even thrilled. All right, I breathed. Thanks. Just then I spotted a tall figure lurking near the cafe entrance. Nolan. His dark hair combed back, wearing a crisp polo, scanning the crowd. Our eyes locked, and a disapproving smirk crept across his face. He started moving toward us. Oscar must have noticed my posture tense because he gently placed a hand on my elbow. Is that him? He asked quietly. I nodded, throat tight. Yeah, that's Nolan. Within seconds, Nolan was standing beside our table, arms crossed like he owned the place. Patricia, he said, voice dripping sarcasm. Couldn't wait to see me, huh? My spine stiffened. Nolan. This is my friend, Oscar Campbell. Nolan glanced at Oscar like he was sizing up an opponent. Oscar, huh? Good to meet you. Didn't realize Patricia had a new companion. Heat flared in my cheeks. Oscar, to his credit, reached out and shook Nolan's hand calmly. Nice to meet you, too. Patricia's talked about the wedding a lot. Nolan's gaze flickered with an arrogant gleam. Sure. Well, I hope you both enjoy all the events. We're a pretty close-knit bunch. He emphasized that last part like a veiled warning. I forced a polite smile. We will, thanks. He gave a tight nod, then pivoted and strode off. My throat felt dry as desert sand. Oscar released a soft exhale. Nice guy, he commented, voice laced with irony. I snorted, more relieved than I wanted to admit. Nice, right. We finished our coffee in tension-filled silence. Iris returned, and Oscar slid effortlessly back into pleasant conversation, leaving me to marvel at how he could handle Nolan's aggression without blinking. By the time we wrapped up, I realized I felt safer with Oscar by my side than I had in a long time. Maybe it was all an illusion, but at least for now, it was working. My sandals sank into the soft sand as I walked across the beach that evening. Paper lanterns swayed in the breeze, casting warm yellow glows over clusters of guests who mingled around the bonfire and long buffet tables. The welcome party had a casual low-country themed seafood, live acoustic music, and plenty of laughter blending with the sound of ocean waves. Oscar followed close behind me, his footsteps steady. He wore a light linen shirt, the top 2 buttons undone, and dark slacks. A subtle confidence radiated from him, turning a few heads as we weaved between guests. A hush of nervousness stayed lodged in my chest, though, because I'd never done anything like this, pretending a total stranger was my date in front of family. And to top it off, I couldn't decide if Oscar was just fulfilling a role or if he genuinely cared about how all this played out. Patricia! Mom's voice rang out, sounding delighted. She bustled over, wearing a bright turquoise shawl that fluttered in the ocean breeze. Oh my goodness. Is this your friend you mentioned? I plastered on my best smile. Mom, this is Oscar. Oscar, my mother, Margaret Reynolds. She extended a hand, looking him up and down with approval. So nice to meet you. I've heard well, not much honestly, but enough to be curious. Oscar gave her a courteous nod. Pleasure's mine, Mrs. Reynolds. Patricia's said wonderful things about you. That was a blatant lie, of course. We'd never even discussed my mother. But Mom beamed anyway. Hope you're enjoying the festivities. Iris wanted a laid-back vibe tonight. Oscar assured her it was lovely. Mom turned to me with a playful grin. Maybe this means we'll see more of you two in the future? She shot me a knowing wink, and I nearly choked on air. Maybe, I mumbled, cheeks warming. She walked off to greet other relatives, leaving me to bury my embarrassment behind a glass of sweet tea. Oscar tilted his head, amused. She likes to tease, huh? You have no idea, I said, half laughing. We moved deeper into the party, passing long picnic-style tables decked with fresh flower arrangements. I introduced him to a few aunts, uncles, and cousins, all of whom seemed thrilled I wasn't alone. Their curious stares gnawed at my nerves, but Oscar's presence made me feel less like a specimen under a microscope. We ended up standing near the makeshift dance floor where the band played a gentle folk melody. The sky turned a deep purple, stars just starting to poke through. Lanterns glowed on strings overhead, and the sea breeze carried faint notes of salt and coconut sunscreen. "This is more fun than I expected," Oscar remarked, scanning the lively crowd. "Your family's quite welcoming." I fiddled with the rim of my plastic cup. "They're sweet, but a bit intense. Everyone has an opinion on my life. That's partly why." I trailed off, realizing how vulnerable I sounded. He turned to me, expression gentle. "Why you felt the need to show up with someone?" he finished. A nervous laugh escaped me. "Yeah, that and the Nolan factor." He looked as though he wanted to probe further, but I spotted Nolan stepping onto the dance floor with some unknown date, an elegant brunette wearing a fitted sundress. My gut twisted. He caught my eye and sent me a smug grin, like he was proud to flaunt his new conquest. Oscar must have noticed because he quietly set down his cup. "Dance with me," he said. Not a question, but a warm invitation. I blinked, heart stuttering. "Oh, I'm not a great dancer." He offered his hand, unwavering. "Let's just give them something else to look at." Flutters ignited in my stomach. Slowly, I placed my hand in his, and he guided me toward the dance floor. The music was slow, melodic, and I felt hyper-aware of the closeness, the heat of his hand on my waist. Around us, guests swayed under the lanterns, and the roar of the waves formed a soothing backdrop. Despite the swirl of caution in my mind, I found myself relaxing into the moment. Oscar's presence felt solid, protective. "Thank you," I whispered, half hoping he couldn't hear it. He leaned slightly closer. "For what?" "Helping me keep it together." My cheeks flushed. "I know it's just a contract or arrangement or whatever, but you're making me feel less alone." There was a flicker in his gaze, something that resembled honesty. "I'm glad." Before I could say anything else, we bumped into a couple heading off the floor, and I nearly lost my balance. Oscar tightened his grip on my hand, keeping me upright. Laughter bubbled out of me, the moment so unexpectedly lighthearted. For a few blissful minutes, I forgot about the charade. I forgot about Nolan. But eventually, the music shifted to a faster tune, and people cheered, swirling around us. Oscar and I drifted aside, breathless. A wave of longing rushed through me, surprising in its intensity. Was this closeness just staged, or was something real taking root? He tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear. "You okay?" I nodded, ignoring the rapid beat of my heart. "Yeah, just not used to feeling so comfortable around someone new." He smirked. "I have that effect, apparently." His tone was playful, but the undercurrent felt sincere. I opened my mouth to respond, but a voice interrupted. "Wow," came Ashley's teasing tone as she strolled up behind us, wearing a breezy sundress. "Pat, you never told me you'd found yourself such a smooth dance partner." I jolted, turning to face her. "Ashley, what are you doing here? I thought you were traveling for work." She grinned. "Surprise. I rearranged some things so I could come. I told you I might pop in if I could." Her gaze flicked to Oscar. "Hi there, I'm Ashley. And you must be—" Oscar extended a friendly hand. "Oscar Campbell. Good to meet you, Ashley." She gave me a sideways smirk. "He's definitely a step up from what we were discussing." My cheeks flamed as she referenced the escort website we'd browsed. I cleared my throat loudly, shooting her a warning look. "Ashley, can we talk later?" She raised both hands in mock surrender. "Absolutely. I'll let you two get back to whatever this is." As she walked off, Oscar quirked an eyebrow. "She seems fun." I groaned. "She's the friend who found that, never mind." Oscar seemed amused but didn't push further. The night wore on with more dancing, more laughter, and more stolen glances from Nolan. Despite the tension, I realized with amazement that Oscar was making it bearable. I caught glimpses of him smiling at me in a way that felt genuine, not just an act. When the bonfire burned low, the beach crowd began to dwindle. Oscar escorted me back toward the hotel's main entrance. Our arms brushed, sending tiny sparks through me. "I think I'm done for the night," I said softly, the swirl of emotions overwhelming. He nodded, stepping into the golden glow of the lobby lights. "Me too." Then, hesitating, "I had fun, Patricia." The sincerity in his tone made my chest ache. "Same here," I whispered, wishing I could trust this feeling. "Good night, Oscar." As I slipped into the elevator, I caught one last glimpse of him standing there, hands in his pockets, an unreadable expression on his face. Maybe I was crazy, but for a brief moment, it felt like more than a staged performance. It felt like we'd forged a spark of real connection. Morning arrived with a crisp ocean breeze carrying the promise of sunshine. I woke early, my nerves jangling because today was the